The United States' time in Iraq is quickly coming to an end. Yesterday, Vice President Joe Biden handed over control of one of Saddam Hussein's former palaces that served as the U.S. headquarters. The ceremony took place 30 days before the U.S. withdrawal from Iraq is to be complete. But Biden says the relationship between the two countries won't end there.
The significance of this agreement lies not in just what it states, but what it stands for. It stands for a fundamentally different type of relationship, grounded in civilian cooperation between equal sovereigns. It means an opportunity to help a new Iraqi democracy secure its place in the community of responsible nations. It means America will remain deeply engaged here in Iraq and throughout the region.
Iraqis are still dealing with violence in their country. On Thursday, at least 20 people were killed in attacks. For more this morning, we're joined by Mike Lyons. He's a CBS News military analyst and senior fellow at the Truman National Security Project. Mike, good morning to you.
Good morning, Truman.
First off, congratulations.
Thanks very much.
Very nice to have you here this morning. Let's talk about American troops. What kind of role, if any, are they now going to play in Iraq?
None. They won't be there at all. They won't be doing anything at this point. It'll be purely Marines at the embassy at this point in time. American forces will be leaving completely. There'll be no intelligence collection facilities. There'll be no helicopter support for the Iraqi security forces. So it's a very big change, but we're removing what's really an irritant from the battlefield right now at this point.
There is a very big question and a lot of concern about what happens next, not only in that country, but here in the United States. With American troops leaving that country, is that a threat to America? You know,
there's still a very complex and multi-layered security insurgency that's taking place right now in Iraq. Al-Qaeda is still there. They could be rearming, regrouping themselves at this point in time. The question is whether or not that the Vice President's words are going to be true. If we're going to be close to the Iraqi government. We need an ally in that part of the world. We've been there for the last 8 years at this point in time. With the military not being there right now, we're at least not going to have that component there.
Are Iraqi security forces prepared to move on? Are they advanced enough to protect this country on their own?
Yeah, if you ask 50 people out in the Iraqi government right now, 25 say yes, 25 say no. That really is the open question. You know, they've got a very complex mission protecting their border from the Iranians. They have internal security to worry about. There's clear Shiite, Sunni, Muslim type of insurgency that takes place there. They have an issue with the north, so that's one of the main insurgencies that's going to take place.
Military commanders, these are the folks that are on the ground. They see the situation. What are some of them saying?
They don't think that we should be leaving. Unfortunately, we weren't able to get the SOFA forces agreement established. You know, we're not going to leave troops in a place that they're going to be subject to local laws. You know, we have them in Germany, Japan, all those years. We're not going to do that. That was a non-starter for us. But the bottom line is, without that there, we can't keep U.S. forces in Iraq.
A hypothetical here, and this isn't meant to push the envelope too far, but I think a lot of people would think, wait a minute, what's the worst case scenario? There are some good things that have happened here. There's an irritant that you mentioned before that's being removed. What's the very bad thing that can happen?
Yeah, the worst thing is this civil war that takes place, Sunni versus Shia, that would happen. The fact that they're well armed now at this point in time, if there's a fracture inside the Iraqi security forces at this point, if that is split up and they're not supporting the government as a whole, I'm afraid the violence could escalate very quickly.
What about Iran?
They remain a major player. See, they have the advantage of geography in the space, so they're going to be there. They win by watching what happens on the sideline. The concept of doing anything us military to Iran right now is absolutely ludicrous at this point in time. I hope we're not even thinking about doing something there.
With the resources potentially moving now out of Iraq, do we see those now go to Afghanistan?
Not necessarily, not a one-for-one, because Afghanistan, that mission's changing there also. I think most of these troops will come back home. We'll get ready to have more of a peacetime army at this point in time, and the changes that are going to take place within the Defense Department are going to have less resources for the military. They're going to have to do more with less.
So if we could say maybe 10 years down the line from now, where do we see Iraq?
Well, if what good looks like is a peaceful democracy that exists in the center of a very turbulent region, but look at what's happened with the Arab Spring, Egypt, Israel, Syria. There's a lot of still unknown to take place. But if Iraq could at least not have a civil war and remain and become part of the international community, that would have made this last 8 years all worthwhile, but that really remains to be seen.
So a wait-and-see situation.
It's still wait and see. It's very uncertain.
CBS News military analyst Mike Lyons joining us this morning. Mike, thank you so much.
Thanks, Terrell.